Now what we've got in front here is an Rt7 and Rt4, and what we're talking about today is this. This is the multi-spreader by CarpLounge. There's been a lot of iterations of bait spreaders brought out to market, and CarpLounge have been working to get this one out for a number of years, and they've nailed it in my book. The great thing about this particular version is it's completely symbiotic with the app. So you are running this from your handset if you're an Rt7, or you're running it from your pad on your box, and you're then able to control the speed of it, turn it on, turn it off. You've got full control over it. Whereas some of the more manual models, they're mechanized, the trapdoor opens, it engages them, they whirl around, they make a lot of noise. These are very, very quiet, which I'm going to show you now. As you can hear, is very, very little noise, and there's no big clunk as it engages. The great thing about this system is, you know, if you wanted to be that person, you can have 4 of these in the boat at one time, all working together or independently to do different jobs. So you get 2 spreaders. They're both different shapes. Next up, the little rubber grommet things designed to keep the actual handle of the boat locked in position. Lastly out of the box is the foam stand that the spreader goes into. If you want the spreader to be connected to your left hand side, you have to make sure that you turn that around accordingly. Obviously, if you want it on the right hand side, you do the opposite. So we're going to be putting it into our left hand hopper, so we need to turn it around and seat it back in there like so. So attaching the top part of the spreader to the actual base is very, very simple. There's a groove in the top part, and you have to align it up to the arrow that's on the spreader strip in the middle. And there are 2 magnets on the base and 2 magnets on the bucket at the top, and once they snap and lock on, you'll know that they've locked in tight. So we're going to put it on now, show you how it goes on. And it clicks in and is locked in tight. Now what you do is you give it a quick spin manually just to make sure that's all okay, and to remove it is reversing it. You're going to take the part that has the groove in it again facing you, push, and all of a sudden it will release. Now as you can see, we already have a little mini aerial attached. Now you can buy these from CarpLounge. Again, they have a range of about 400 yards, so you know, you're fairly good to go on most of the waters you're going to fish by using this. The reason why you go with the smaller aerial is that any bait that's coming out at speed, you don't want bouncing off the main big aerial, which will be in the way. We've decided that we're having it on the left hopper. As you can see, it goes in, and you've got to push down tight. It looks kind of wrong to be doing it, but don't worry, the boat won't break, but it means that it's locked in nice and tight. Then you take your cord and you take your widget out of the socket, and you're looking for the red mark, which means that's up. This then goes into the boat like so. As soon as you turn on the boat, you'll get this message up saying that at least 1 unknown bait spreader has been detected on your boat. To be able to use it, you must assign the position. So you just press OK. Now, this page will come up. Please assign your bait hopper. So it's got a big question mark on it. Position, and we want front left. So we've hit front left, and then we say activate. This little bar here that says identify underneath it, that's actually the speed of how fast it rotates. So if you want a faster rotation, you move it up towards 100%, slower obviously back down to 0. On the Rt4 V4, to activate the multi-spreader, touch the lower icon on the left, hit the spreader symbol, then touch the spreader you want to use and then press activate. You will need to play around to find out what items work best for the largest spread. Adding a wet ground bait or scalded pellets on the very top will allow for a larger spreader bait. Activate your multi-spreader on your Rt7. You can map one of the keys and activate it on the fly, a much quicker and more efficient system which sums up the Rt7 in general. Sometimes because you've jammed them in tight, it can be a little bit difficult to take out. So if you just pull this out of the center and squeeze together, I can actually do it with one hand. So it's a much easier way of getting it back out. At the back there's another one of these little widgets that stops any water ingress going in. That's so that you can actually add a second spreader on the back. But you know, if you're not using it, just make sure it's all pushed in nice and tight. One thing that a lot of people are going to struggle with when you first do this is the magnets are really strong. So you've got to really kind of push it into your chest, and using your two fingers, do not push at the top, but come down on the base and push down, and all of a sudden it'll just give. When the magnets disengage and it will come off nice and easy. So it's something just to be aware of. It does take a little bit of force, but you'll be okay. But remember, you're not going to be getting, you know, sort of a 20-30 yard radius. It's going to be close enough to the boat, but it is giving a different pattern. And that is why these are so important, because on lakes that are dominated with bait boats, the same bait falling in the same manner, which is usually in a clump from the back of the boat, carp become very wary to seeing these clusters of bait, and they treat them with great caution. Carp are much easier if they're moving from one patch to the other relatively quickly. And by being able to spread out the food bait, whether you're using chopped boilies or pellet or particles of any sort, having that ability to spread it a little bit further away from the hook bait so that they're having to move around and it's not all in one big lump, it takes the caution away from the carp. It gets them moving from section to feeding, and therefore you've got much more of a chance of hooking them. These things are brilliant. They're a great concept, great execution. And as I said, will feature a lot more in my bait boat work now that I am an owner of one of these CarpLounge MultiSpreaders.